All right. A reader writes in to say that they really enjoyed your Easter message about the resurrection of the world. In that sermon, you alluded to the world being brought along with us in Christ. With this in mind, will animals be resurrected on the new earth? If so, will they be animals who have lived on this earth? More specifically, will our pets be resurrected?
Let's start with
more
this.
specifically still, will I see Willie in heaven?
I would say that all depends on whether Willie was a good dog or a bad dog.
Very.
Well, here's the thing, and this is a question that baffles me, actually, and it baffles me because there's a passage in the New Testament that addresses it directly. So in 1 Corinthians 15, when Paul's talking about the resurrection, he says all flesh is seed, right? So our flesh, our bodies are seed, and they are resurrection seed. They go in the ground, and they're to be raised. And so Paul says very expressly, all flesh is seed. And then he says birds have one kind of seed, birds are one kind of seed, and he goes through the different kinds of animals and saying they're different kinds of seed. So I would say, of course, animals are going to be resurrected. Extinction is not forever.
Could somebody, if it says there's different kinds of seed, can you say, well, man's seed is something that gets resurrected, but animal seed doesn't?
Well, no, the problem is that seed that doesn't grow into a plant isn't seed. It's not seed. So the whole point of sowing seed, the whole point of putting seed in the ground is you're expecting a crop. Now, this question is, someone's going to try to do the reductio ad absurdum. Like, do you believe in the resurrection of mosquitoes, for example? I think C.S. Lewis was the one who said he thought that a hell for people and a heaven for mosquitoes could be very conveniently combined. But I would just appeal to 1 Corinthians 15. The types of seed that Paul refers to are sentient animals. He says nothing about microbes and bacteria and so forth. So I'm happy to be cheerfully agnostic about that. But I do believe that sentient creatures, mammals, reptiles, birds, I do believe that they are going to populate the resurrection state, and I believe Paul says that expressly. So when then you say, well, that's kind of weird. I would say I would push back a little bit and say, why is it weird? Well, it's weird because a lot of Christians get their doctrine or theology of the resurrection more from Far Side cartoons than they do from the Bible. The Christian view is belief in the resurrection of the dead, and that means our bodies are going to be raised. But that our bodies are going to be raised, and we are going to live in this resurrected world in a new heavens and a new earth. Now, why? Do we think it's going to be a big parking lot? What do we think are we going to be standing around just eternity to go? A lot of people think that we look at the glories of this fallen world, this bent world, the mountain ranges, the forests, all the animals, the sort of God's exuberance in life, and we tend to think that was God's high watermark. He sort of exhausted himself, and then because he's really nice to us, he's going to make one final effort and get us to come back from the dead, and then we're going to stand around in this parking lot, translucent gold. Well, I don't think that's the way it's going to be.
Well, part of the weirdness will be a lot of these will be animals that I ate.
Yes.
We'll be having trouble making eye contact.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, everything will be put right. They would say they'll be concerned. Was I good bacon or bad?
Okay. So if there's a good afterlife for animals, is there a bad afterlife for animals? Do all snakes go to hell?
Well, yeah. There's a problem. What about the hyenas?
Right.
And I joked earlier about
just cats in general.
or cats. Cats are all Pharisees. Dogs are tax collectors. God be merciful to me, a sinner. And cats are Pharisees. So you've got the hyena problem or the dragon problem or that sort of thing. There are some things that I think are obviously bent. They're a function of the fallenness of this world. And it's hard for us to sort of extrapolate out and say, how would that translate? What would a good form of that be? But probably the one thing that I would have biblical evidence for would be dragons or reptiles. The seraphim, I believe, are dragons, and are great heavenly reptiles. So the cherubim are not little fat Renaissance babies with 6-inch wings. They are winged bulls. So you get these great winged bulls of the cherubim, and the seraphim had 6 wings, and it's pretty clear from the description and in Numbers where it talks that where the people are afflicted by snakes. It says actually flying snakes. NIV says darting snakes, but it's winged serpents that were poisonous. The bronze serpent that's put up on the pole is in Hebrew, one of the words used there is seraph, which means shining one, but it's seraph. So I take the seraphim as great heavenly dragons, clearly unfallen, because of the serpent, because of the dragon who deceived our first parents. In earthly history, the dragon represents evil and deception and so forth, but everything in this world is either good or a bent form of good. Right? So some of those things I would have to just wait and see. With some things, if they show up in the resurrection, the transformation would be so total that you wouldn't recognize. So that's what a godly hyena looks like.
Right.